Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my channel, Reviving Humanity. My name is Zafar. My friends call me Zaf. A shorter, friendlier version. In some ways, it is sad that this channel had to be launched, but it is important for you and me and the whole of humanity because it has reached a point that it needs reviving. Or else, genocide will become a normal acceptance of life. So it's up to us to revive it. Especially in the last 4 months, at the destruction and the atrocities that have been happening and continuing on daily basis. In Gaza, 30,000 dead. And half of them are children. Before I take a deep dive, looking for an explanation. Yes, looking for an explanation. Hold on. There can never be an explanation for all these deaths, for all these atrocities. And those who are in trouble, those who are not in trouble by these, they really need to look in their inner self and find their humanity. If I was doing this, talk back in 1800, it would be a demand for the freedom of the black slaves. And if it was in 1890, it would be in support of the Apaches and Comanches because at that time they were facing the evil slaughter. Did you know there were 574 American Indian tribes? Moving on. And if I was doing this talk in 1930, it would be in support of the Jews because they were facing persecution, oppression, and destruction. Did you know it is recognized 5 million non-Jews lost their lives to stop this slaughter? And even gypsies joined in and lost lives just to save the Jewish community. And the big question is how many outsiders are now risking their life to stop this destruction and slaughter of the Palestinians. And yet at that time, the main powerful countries all rallied around to stop this risking life of their own citizens. But now, they're all sitting silently without even supporting the ceasefire. Shame on them. It also needs to be mentioned, almost 100 journalists have lost, and the media people have lost their lives at the time of this recording to bring this awful news pictures to us so we can support the ceasefire. Let's take a look at some of these pictures. You cannot be blamed. For a minute, you think this is a sci-fi movie. It's a Hollywood movie in which evil aliens have come down to Gaza and started a spree of destruction. And what makes it more movie-like, our leaders and politicians have given them the green light. All this annihilation to do this makes you wonder, has this evil force taken over the feeble minds of our politicians? Over 30,000 murdered, half of them children. Why else would some sane mind support this cruel elimination? But no, it's not evil alien force. This evil has been born on our own Mother Earth. Sadly, and yet these oppressors were the ones that were oppressed, and today they have become the evil oppressors and started murdering the people that shared their land with them. As the famous saying goes, give somebody an inch, they'll take a foot. And in this case, they want all of Palestine. Let's go back to 1900. Yes, go back to 1900 and take a look at insanity of the politicians. At that time, Liberal Party was in power and the British women asked for voting rights. And the answer was No. What do women know about politics? That was the reply from the British MPs. But women wanted this right. Why should only men have it? So Emmeline Pankhurst and her determined daughters, Christabel, Sylvia, Adela, started a movement to gain voting rights for the British, holding rallies. How did government react? They arrested these women and placed them in Holloway prison, which is in North London. In the single-mindedness, these female prisoners went on hunger strike. Then the prison authorities were told, force feed them. But that failed. Then the British government brought in Prisoners Temporarily Discharged for Ill Act 1913, and this was commonly known as Cat and Mouse Act. Seriously, it sounds a ridiculous joke, but this happened. You can Google it. This authorized the prison facilities to hold on to these women till they are on the verge of dying from starvation, and then release them so they can go home, nurse themselves to health, and then go back, arrest them again, and bring them back into prison. Hence the Cat and Mouse Act. Why all this compulsion from the members of the parliament? All because they did not want to give women the right to vote. Then finally, on 6th of February 1918, women were given this right to vote, but only when they reached the age of 30 years and were taxpayers. At that time, a lot of women didn't work, so they attached these conditions to make it difficult for them. So history has evidence of MPs making unmoral decisions. When looking back, you think, oh, how can someone with this narrow mindedness be elected, and yet at this time we have a whole house full of them. The Gazans have been bombed for 4 months, and at this time of the recording, over 30,000 have died. And the leader of the pack on the opposite side says targeting them with bombs is not enough. Stop the food, stop the water. If MP made a speech like that today, not giving them freedom for slavery and women should not have the right to vote, and if they make those demands, restrict their food, restrict their water, the MP would be thrown out from the parliament and would be escorted to a mental institute. And yet, what is the demand of the Palestinians? Freedom, just freedom. And we have the MPs that have the audacity to stand up and state there should be no ceasefire. In other words, keep killing them, including their children. And they have the nerve of walking out of the parliament as they're walking on a red carpet after giving an Oscar-winning speech. And we are letting them get away with it. So, the main question, here it is. How did these evil-minded politicians got elected? Or did they develop the mental health issue afterwards? What else would the majority of these keep quiet when a genocide is happening? At this point, I must thank the small number of MPs that have supported ceasefire from day one. I'll be making a video in future acknowledging their sensibility and appreciation will be shown. It's an uphill battle. It seriously is an uphill battle. But please, please keep it up. We will not forget. And the history will have you named as the good guys. Thousands are marching around the world asking, demanding ceasefire. What can you, me, what can we do? I will produce content regular basis, take a issue and take a deep dive, bringing you facts. For example, in the next video, we're going to go back to the 75-year-old statement, which is repeated like a ticking clock. Israel has the right to defend itself. Yes, yes, but it does not have a right to commit murder. Join me, making positive difference by supporting, subscribing, and sharing this link. See you in the next video. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.